Hello and welcome to CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Baz Kuti with Modak, and we are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDO IQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to Hayes Williams, Head of Data Governance at Daiichi Sankyo. Welcome, Hayes.
Thank you so much, Baz. Happy to be here.
Great, thanks for your time here. For our audience and viewers, kind of give us a bit of an overview of who Daiichi Sankyo is and what they do and kind of the products they're involved in, and just a bit of background on the company. That'd be great.
Sure. So Daiichi Sankyo is a pharmaceutical company that originated in Japan, and in the last couple of years has been transforming itself into an oncology-led drug organization. So that's kind of what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, and then in terms of your role there as head of governance, what does that encompass? Because what kind of responsibilities does that role have across the company?
So I appreciate that. I work specifically in R&D. So R&D is the sort of function that manages the drug development lifecycle from beginning to end, from basic research through managing clinical trials. And in that function, it's a recently new role that they brought in that's a standalone role focused on data governance. And what I'm tasked to do is first create a data governance capability. And that means a couple different things. It means creating the organization, the group of people who are interested in talking about and essentially helping set the standards for the broader research and development organization, and then go create the standards and policies and other structures which help manage data across the organization. That's sort of the explicit job. My implicit job is to act as sort of an advocate or a cheerleader for good data management, for good data governance across the company. Okay,
now it's a critical role as data is the lifeblood of companies, and as we go forward. So, how does Daiichi, and it's a new role they've just created here, but how does Daiichi see themselves in terms of data as a strategy or data as a strategic asset as it organizes across the world and using data more and more for analytical purposes?
I mean, that's a great question. So research development is fully invested in the idea that data is an asset, right? So that's kind of implicit in, I was mentioning the R&D lifecycle chain. All across, we run experiments at research level, help facilitate clinical trials at the clinical level, right? All of these produce data, and these data help support the creation and approval of drug products we bring to market. So from an organizational perspective, we're very invested in caring for the data and using it to the best of the ability to bring drug treatments to patients.
Okay, it's kind of the heart of the business because R&D depends so much on good data, as you rightly pointed out.
Exactly.
Citizenship of data for clinical trial purposes as you go forward in your organization. So as you look at business leaders and IT leaders, and even some of the data consumers in your organization, what do you think some of the key questions they're asking for data governance and data quality within the company?
So I think these questions are conceptually simple, right? They should, the questions should sound like, where is my data? Even a simple question like, tell me where all the data in the organization can lead to some sort of unintended consequences. Did this person look for that data, that kind of thing? I think that's a simple question that becomes complex. Mm-hmm. The next question the leader should be asking is the data good, right? And even that's a bit of a trick, right? Because good really depends on what you want to go do with that data. So first you have to figure out what good looks like for the intent you're trying to go after. And then I think the only other thing I'd say is once you know what good looks like and where the data is, how do you measure that data to make sure that it does look like you expect it to look? I think all those things help data leaders ask the question, am I getting value out of the data? I think that's the kind of questions they should be asking.
Yeah, that data supply chain, which you just got to summarize, finding the data in terms of what does good look like, what the metrics for good are, and then saying, well, how do I make value out of that data to answer some business outcome? That supply chain of data, I think companies are more and more getting attuned to how to run it, how to manage
Exactly.
it. And I think you kind of nailed it in the head there, where you said basically it's finding the data. And just on that finding it, what do you think sort of key challenges are just finding data in organization? Why is it so difficult finding data?
So companies, I mean, our company also, but companies in general tend to have siloed functions, right? And that silo comes from the fact that each function has a specific task that they need to perform for the organization. So it's natural that they start that way. But that silo impedes that kind of knowing where all the data is. And it's exacerbated by the fact that we have now a lot of off-premise, cloud-based, hybrid-based, on-premise data. It just really is a mixed environment. And that really creates this difficulty in finding the data across the organization.